Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rose Writes and I write and narrate Miraculous Ladybug fan fiction. The beautiful artwork and my thumbnail is by Cat Saturn. Her Insta will be linked below, so go be sure to show her some love. Please enjoy Love Story, Part 3. A light spun and flitted all around Marinette, encircling her. Her tattered, once beautiful gown slowly morphed into an extravagant ball gown fit for Cinderella. When Marinette emerged from the cacophony of sparkles, her dress was a subtle shade of blush that dropped at her waist and billowed out around her. She twirled around, the skirt looking like a flower spreading its petals. "I look like a princess. Yes, I know. Do you like it?" Tiki, Marinette's fairy godmother, asked, inspecting her work proudly. "Like it? You have no idea. This is absolutely perfect, Tiki. Thank you." Tiki nodded shyly, her cute smile beaming. The only thing left was to go to the ball. "The best thing is that my magic will make it difficult for anyone to recognize you. Even Prince Adrien." Marinette's confidence burst, a noticeable shift from the girl she was just moments earlier. Inhale, exhale. It was time for the ball. "Prince Adrien?" He didn't turn. He stood on an empty balcony staring at the vast sky lit with twinkling stars. A voice behind him said again, "Prince Adrien, it's time." "I know, Plag. Can I have just a moment more? Please?" He spoke sadly. Footsteps began to approach. "I'd like to be alone, if that's okay." "Are you sure?" Plag said, tight-lipped. Adrien was so joyful, but the wedding stole that from him. Plag knew there was no way to help his dear friend. This is something he would have to do. No escape. It wasn't fair. "Yes, I'm sure," Adrien simply answered, hands clenching tightly to the edge of the balcony, his knuckles turning white. As the footsteps retreated, Adrien felt himself succumb to his emotions. Everything he had pent up for so long overflowed. How could he marry Kagami tomorrow? How could he look her in the eyes, say some pre-written vows that he doesn't mean, kiss her, and start their lives based on a lie? An arranged marriage wasn't something he often thought about. He never thought about marriage at all until he began to fall in love with Marinette. It had only been a minute or two before footsteps began approaching once more. Adrien sighed, still gripping the balcony. "I said I wanted to be alone," Adrien muttered, thinking it was Plag returning. My, I thought surely you would have learned some manners as the heir to the throne. I suppose I overestimated you. What do you want, Felix?" The prince slowly turned to stare at his cousin, who stood in the doorway donning a smug expression. "I told you I'd be here to see you fail, and a true royal always keeps his promise." "The wedding isn't until tomorrow. If you want to make your objections, it's going to have to wait," Adrien remarked snidely, attempting to brush past him. Felix reached out, stopping him in his tracks. "Please, cousin. I was sent up here to retrieve you. Guests will be arriving soon." "I'll get there when I get there." Adrien rolled his eyes, turning on his heels to look back off the balcony, eyeing all of the fancy cars that approached, no doubt carrying VIPs from all different kingdoms with varying degrees of status. Everyone eager to catch a glimpse of the future king and his queen. One lone princess walked up. No fancy car, no carriage, not even an entourage, and approached the palace. Her steps almost seemed ballerina-like, graceful, delicate. Adrien was intrigued. He thought he knew everyone who would be attending the ball, but he didn't recognize this mystery princess. Thoughts of everything else fled his mind. He just knew that he had to meet her. One foot, then another. Don't fall, Marinette. Not now. Now's not the time to be your normal, clumsy self, he thought intensely as he approached the palace. She knew he must look out of place, but he had to just get to the doors. As she did, a man bowed to her, asking her name. My name? Shoot, she hadn't thought of that. A name. Any name besides her own. My name is Chloe Bourgeois. She curtsied low and slow, a few strands of hair falling in her face. Yes, Miss Chloe, please, this way. And the gentleman escorted her inside. Marinette was absolutely astonished. The sights, the smells, the beautiful people. Only a dream could be this perfect. She glanced around, not recognizing anyone. Adrien nowhere to be seen. She didn't want to draw attention to herself. If people knew who she really was, let's just say if the actual Chloe Bourgeois didn't kill her, then the embarrassment might. Or maybe she would be beheaded. Or worse. What's worse than that? She didn't quite know, but she didn't want to find out. After her escort had left her to her own agenda, she picked an inconspicuous spot next to an elongated snack table, with a large ice sculpture of Adrien and Kagami in the center. She thought maybe if she hid here, she could people watch and eventually find her prince. The prince, not her prince. She shook the thoughts from her head as she grabbed a small, dainty plate, dropping several chocolate-covered strawberries onto it. She popped one into her mouth when she heard some kind of commotion arising from outside. What? I'm the real Chloe Bourgeois. There has to be some kind of mistake, the voice demanded. Uh-oh, Chloe. Marinette hid behind the ice sculpture, peeking, catching a tiny glimpse of what was happening. I'm sorry, miss. According to our charts, a Chloe Bourgeois is already inside. An authoritative voice spoke. He wouldn't be so easily swayed by Chloe like everyone else seemed to be. Two rather large gentlemen hooked Chloe by her elbows. Excuse me? She screeched. This is ridiculous! Utterly ridiculous! Her voice trailed off as the two men guided her back to her limousine she rolled up in. More was shouted between both parties, but Marinette couldn't quite make it out. She smirked to herself as she grabbed another strawberry from her plate. She whipped around, plowing the strawberry into the chest of none other than Prince Adrien. Adrien! Prince! Adrien, sorry! I apologize. She dropped her face in shame and embarrassment as she curtsied, dropping her expensive plate in the process. The glass shattered, and Marinette felt heat prickle to her cheeks. He grabbed her hands to stop her curtsy. She finally met his eyes, and they looked at her with kindness and concern. Are you okay, milady? I'm fine. Her eyes drifted down to his chest, and her hands flung to her mouth. Oh no! Your shirt! There's a huge chocolate stain now. I am so sorry, Prince Adrien. She bowed her head. He picked her chin up with his index finger to meet her gaze once more. Hey, don't worry about it. No one would know it, but I'm actually wicked awesome at getting stains out of clothes. Dish soap works wonders, you know, he said with a wink. She couldn't keep herself from giggling. Oh, how her heart yearned for him. It also ached a bit, because just like Tiki promised, he didn't recognize her. That was probably for the best. They stood there in awkward silence for a moment, as the music shifted to a slow love song. Prince Adrien bowed just a tiny bit, offering his hand. May I have this dance, milady? You may. He then whisked her away to take center stage on the dance floor, surrounded by many couples who side-eyed them but said nothing. Prince Adrien, people are staring. Let them. He spun her in a flourish that fit the melismas in the music, and then held her close to him. Closer than she thought she had ever been to him in her life. They're just jealous of how beautiful you are. You're getting married tomorrow. She hesitated, speaking the words that had been haunting her ever since she read the invite. He said nothing but kept dancing. You are getting married tomorrow, right? I don't know, he said finally in a hushed tone. What do you mean? As her head rested on his shoulder, they swayed back and forth in silence for what felt like an eternity. She could feel the steady beating of his heart as her palm rested on his chest. Without thinking, she stood on her tiptoes, placing a gentle kiss on his cheek. She wanted him to see her, really see her. It was Adrien, and it had always been Adrien. She didn't know if that could break the magic, but maybe, just maybe. He pulled back to look at her, hands on her waist. They still moved to the beat of the music as the song concluded. The people surrounding them were blurry, blending into the background. Adrien stared at her before whispering words that surely no one else could hear. Marinette, I love you. Thank you so much for listening to Love Story Part 3. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel for more things like this one. On the screen, you will also see one of my latest videos, Bug and Cat the Musical, that features some of my favorite people. So go ahead and check that out while you're at it. And as always, stay miraculous.